All right, all right. Here we are. It is Tuesday, October 28th. We just watched a World Series game that was truly for the ages last night. There's not a lot of times I don't watch an awful lot of Warriors when they're on. I hardly turn that game on because I was so in that World Series game. Of course, we had a little Monday Night Football. They were calling it the sports equinox. Well, all right, great night of sports. We're going to talk about some of it, all of it, a little bit of it, but we, as always, start with what's going on with the 49ers. And right now, what we have just seen in this past weekend is the one thing that really does, concern me. Bill Belichick, who, by the way, used to be a very successful football coach, in case you don't know much about Bill or forgotten where it all came from. Bill Belichick used to go out of his way to make what he called offenses play left-handed. In other words, we're going to take away your strengths. You're going to have to play with your offhand. How good are you with your offhand? What if you like to go to the right with the basketball? Well, I'm going to force you left all night. Making the 49ers play left-handed is certainly what the Houston Texans just did. And unfortunately for the 49ers, what we found out was that at this particular time, they don't have a left hand. Christian McCaffrey is as big of a one-man army as you're going to find anywhere in football. He is the right-hand man. He is the only guy on this team right now who wears the cloak of the man when it comes to being part and parcel of this offense. And without Christian McCaffrey right in the middle of it, the 49ers are going to be lost in the woods every single time that happens. And we've got like 2 years of evidence, all of this year, all of last year, basically since the day that Christian McCaffrey was traded for. This team has had an easy to understand but almost unhealthy dependence on him. The Texans held Christian McCaffrey to 25 rushing yards. That's his fewest in a game since 2018. They also held him to just 8 total yards in the first half. That is the fewest of his career. There is absolutely direct correlation, causation, if you will, between the 49ers playing what I think is among the single worst games that they have ever played under Kyle Shanahan. And, what do you know? One of the single least effective and worst games of Christian McCaffrey's career. It's almost like the Warriors and Steph Curry, like they're completely linked. One cannot function really well without the other. Christian McCaffrey's struggles, and I want to put that in air quotes because this guy has been crushing it. Maybe not statistically gaudy, but his effort, his touches, his importance, his place as the centerpiece of this offense, absolutely unquestioned. The only measurement of 49er football that matters really right now is what did Christian McCaffrey do today? Like, seriously, what did Christian McCaffrey do today? If he had a big game, I bet you the 49ers either won or were right in it. And if he did not have a good game, I bet you the 49ers had an awful day on a football field. Again, he's as big as a one-man gang gets since being traded. To call him the centerpiece is an insult to centerpieces of offense. Not only is he far, far and away nearly the only participant in this team's running game, Christian McCaffrey is also among the best wide receivers in the NFL. His offensive line in front of him, though, is doing more damage to Christian McCaffrey and this team's chances to win than anything that Christian McCaffrey has done. As a matter of fact, this offensive line in front of him is more threatening to his career than flights to Germany to check out bilateral Achilles tendonitis. All McCaffrey needs is daylight. That's it. You give him a sliver of daylight, he's going to go get it. That guy picks up first downs like an offense all by himself. He's hardly seen any daylight this year. And he leads the NFL in touches. 28 more, by the way. That's like a full game's worth of touches. He's got 28 more touches than Jonathan Taylor of Indianapolis, who's in second place with 168. There are only 4 guys in football who have touched the ball more than 150 times this year. Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Bijan Robinson. That's it. He is second in scrimmage yards, only because of how poor the entire team came out to play in Houston. Christian McCaffrey would be leading Jonathan Taylor in scrimmage yards. He's got 1,049 yards for scrimmage. That is second behind Taylor, who's got 7 more yards. A normal afternoon, I think, cranks out 7 more yards for Christian McCaffrey in Houston. CMC has produced 26 first downs this season. He's tied for the 6th most first downs earned in the NFL all by himself this year. He is Mr. Move the Chains. Nobody else even really subscribes to that. He's the 13th most productive wide receiver just based on receiving yards per game so far this season. Bijan Robinson is a wide receiver, by the way, 34th in football. You look at all the catches and receiving yards in football. It is wide receivers, 1 tight end, Christian McCaffrey. Wide receivers, another tight end, then you get to 34, it's Bijan Robinson. There is nobody who is quite the Swiss Army knife that Christian McCaffrey is to the 49ers. So any McCaffrey slander, any McCaffrey slowing down, what happened today is his fault. I want you to know that that is nonsense. It is absolute nonsense. McCaffrey, even if he is a half step slower than he used to be, is still, in comparison to the rest of the weapons on this team, a perfect A+. Perfect. Compared to the rest of the grading on the curve of who you are on your team, this is Albert Einstein. Everyone else is sitting in the class wearing a dunce cap. No dunce cap for you out in that audience. No, this is a smart audience, and they know what to do, especially around lunchtime. Look at my man right here. Does he have lunch ready for you today? The answer is yes. And soon it is going to be an 18th birthday for Ike's, October 31st, this Friday, this Halloween. The greatest sandwich shop in America is turning 18. And if you haven't had an Ike's yet, I need you to soon. You'll be very, very happy that you did. Absolutely delicious sandwiches. Sign up for that Love Rewards program. Get a free sandwich when you sign up. Prizes with every purchase. Chips, drinks, all those good things come to you as a Love Rewards member. All good things come to those who frequent the Dubliner West Portal in San Francisco. The best pint of Guinness you're going to have poured for you in the city of San Francisco is going to come to you from the Dubliner West Portal. Great guys. Kenny, John, just have the most perfect, this is what I want a bar to be bar you've ever seen. Get to the Dubliner West Portal. Everything about it works. It's all right in there. All of it. I love it. You will too. Any bar that's got high school football helmets of local high school football teams is forever all right by me. You're going to love the Dubliner West Portal. And hopefully when it comes to making a play or two, either on Game 4 of the World Series, what's coming up next for the Niners, Warriors got a back-to-back. They'll be playing again this evening. And, you know, unless this World Series game goes 18 innings, I'll probably be able to watch a little of tonight's Warriors game. Sleeper right now, America, the world's fastest growing fantasy site, season-long games, incredible information, stats, chatting that you can get over on Sleeper, the parlays, the more or lesses that you get to build for yourself, put together, adjust the odds. It is fantastic. It really, really is. Check out Sleeper. Of course, be responsible when you do it, but use the promo code Damon to get a $100 deposit match up to your first deposit of $100 when you sign up for Sleeper. And if you're saying, hey, man, you got anything just free for me? I don't want to deposit anything. Can I make a play? Yep, you can. Here's a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. Go ahead and make that play on Sleeper right now. Download that app, check it out, and you will see what I am talking about. Thanks again to Sleeper for being a part of what we're doing over here during football season on the Plus. It is so good to have you here. It really is. Thank you all for being here today. We got lots of folks in here already. By the way, I'm not going to pretend I don't like Red Jet saying, long live the tribe, like, and subscribe. Thank you very, very much, Red Jet. I mean, A Tribe Called Plus, represent, Zent. There it is. Sharks and Kings tonight. Oh my gosh, we should have had Sammy join us today, right? Oh gosh, almighty. We'll talk to him about it on Friday when he comes on back. All right. So, what do we got? What do we got going on? Oh, well, we still got some Christian McCaffrey here to talk about because some things just aren't adding up. But anyways, it says, I would trade all 3 San Francisco Giants World Series title for 3 49ers Super Bowls. Is that crazy? Yeah. I got to tell you, those 3 World Series titles by the Giants were some of the greatest moments I've ever had in the city of San Francisco. Some of the most booming moments in San Francisco's best years. Like, I'm not giving back those World Series titles at all. No. But here's what I would do. I would trade you 1 for 1. You can't have all of them. But 1 for 1, I was the guy who constantly said, Indiana's won 5 basketball national championships. I will cut one of those banners out of Assembly Hall myself if it just meant we could be good in football. Guess what? Indiana got good at football without having to give any national championships away. What if the 49ers could actually win a Super Bowl and the Giants get to keep all those World Series trophies too? Wouldn't that be great? I would do that. But yeah. Curva Nord Empire. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I want it all. I don't want to give any back. I don't want to give any back. All right. Back to McCaffrey here for just a little bit. Because, again, in order for something to be logical, it's got to make sense when you walk all the way around it. Like, you don't want to buy a car until you've taken that 360 trip, right? You look at the whole thing. You can't just look at something halfway, says, yeah, I believe in this. I believe in this half of the car so much so I can leave the other half of the car completely uninspected and unattended because I believe in this half of the car so much that I'm not even worried about that half of the car. Well, it all works together, right? I guess we're going to ignore that. And that's the way the 49ers have gone about their business. This is back to criticizing this offensive line. And not just how the offensive line is playing, but just the design behind it in the first place. There is no doubt about it. You need great offensive linemen to bring out good in anything else on your football team. And if all you have is a good offensive line or less than that, it's going to be hard to really find greatness anywhere else. The offensive line is the key that opens up the door to see if we can drive this car or not. You know, you can talk about other players, your quarterback being the engine, but the damn offensive line is the car. Like the car that you're actually sitting in. And the 49ers seem to understand this halfway right. Like, there's no doubt about the 49ers truly, in their heart of hearts, in their quiet moments, believe in defensive lines. Now, the defensive line right now is banged up, so it obviously isn't what it should be. But that is the fault of injury, not team construction. They have invested in draft picks and in free agency more capital into their defensive line than any other group in football, I think, has had an investment in any other unit. And the 49ers, to their credit, have had quite a bit of success with that. A monster defensive line is a great way to go about attacking other football teams. But then the Niners seem to completely forget about that. Again, they only walked halfway around the car to inspect it. They didn't even look at the other side. They believe in defensive line play. Dominating football games is a great way to win, but then they don't do enough to ensure themselves against that happening to them. You know, how do you beat a football team? You rough up their offensive line. How are teams beating your football team, Kyle? They're roughing up your offensive line. You seem to know this. You seem to understand this. Yet this team is still moneyballing its offensive line for reasons that have cost them valuable wins. I don't know what to tell you. What the 49ers have told us about their offensive line is massive exaggeration of performance and production. It peaks. The Niners offensive line this year will peak at okay. They were okay against Atlanta and everything worked great. Now, were they really good against Atlanta, or is Atlanta's defensive line just that unimpressive? I would say it's got to be a little bit of A and B there, because a better defensive line just skinned them the fuck alive in Houston. If you have a great offensive line, everyone else on the football team can conceptually be pretty good. If you don't even have a pretty good offensive line, it doesn't matter how much greatness you think you got anywhere else. It doesn't matter. Great players everywhere else turn into just guys with an offensive line that is unimpressive. Let me give you the hypothesis that needs to be this team's marching orders for the remainder of Kyle Shanahan's career. Not just for the remainder of this season, because I don't think there's an awful lot you can do this season about it, but going forward, this is the hypothesis that Kyle needs to live by. We all know what a hypothesis is, right? An if-then statement. If, ... then. If you have a really good offensive line, then you can basically do whatever you want offensively, because it really doesn't seem to matter much who the 49ers wide receivers are. It really doesn't seem to matter much who the team's fucking quarterback is right now. But with an offensive line, you can get done anything you want. I mean, again, if Mac Jones or Brock Purdy had been kept clean all year so far, what do their numbers look like? Even with Juwan Jennings, the disaster, and hard to find Ricky Pearsall, and isn't playing today George Kittle. This team, God bless them, has been able to put together a pretty good win-loss resume behind a pretty average offensive line. It's being stretched so thin. Of course it gave out on them in Houston. Back to criticizing the offensive line feels like we're going over old ground here, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like the 49ers, and this is what's so weird. They completely understand one side of the line of scrimmage. I mean, I don't you watch your defensive line whoop your offensive line every day in practice and think there's some improvement here we need? Because all off season, this team was screaming for better protection, especially when you're making investments in McCaffrey and Purdy the way that they did. You want to protect these investments? If we're being completely honest about everything the 49ers got, the 49ers only got one thing. They got Christian McCaffrey. Offensively, they got Christian McCaffrey. That's the whole fucking plan. Christian McCaffrey. God forbid anything happened to him. Like, that's the one non-negotiable at this point in the year. Think about it. Ricky Pearsall had a couple of decent games, but lately hasn't been around. Kendrick Bourne had 2 good afternoons, one really good afternoon, another decent offensive afternoon. George Kittle's caught a couple of touchdowns, and Jake Tongus has been a bit of a surprise. That's it. That is the entire offensive resume beyond Christian McCaffrey. again, who's produced 26 first downs this season. He's tied for the sixth most. He's got 1,049 yards from scrimmage, and he's got it basically with an offensive line yawning in front of him, doing very little to produce for him. This guy is the best running back, the only running back that this team trusts at all. He is their best wide receiver, which means he's their everything. If they could ask Christian McCaffrey to throw the football too, I'm sure they would. It has to become the hypothesis that every single 49er decision is now made around. Like, I've seen enough. I really have. I've seen enough. I know what this team's problem is. And it isn't Kyle. It's not the play calling. It's not the predictability. It's not even the fucking injuries. It's the offensive line. That's the problem. Kyle can get production out of any random swinging dick in a football uniform for the most part. But not without a good offensive line does it equal, where's it going? All right, we got more supers. Bill Canada says if Brock plays in New York, he will re-injure his toes. Toe, new injury, I don't know. Anyone who plays in New York feels like they're up for it because of that reputation of MetLife's turf. If you can get Mac out there, who I know's knee is barking at him right now, I think you got to go with Mac Jones again. I really do. This is Mike Baker. It says, it's annoying how YouTube changed display names. This is Mike Baker, longtime follower. Let's go 49ers. Chef A, Red Jet, JJ Raider. Been around a long time too. Mike Baker, you've been around a long time. What did you used to go by, Mike? It says Mike Baker. I see you, Mike. But it is weird how YouTube basically said we're changing some names. It's for some people, it seems like it happened. For other people, it didn't happen. I don't know if you can change it back. I don't know what the deal is there, but I mean, again, I don't know. It's amazing that I'm on today. I hardly know what I'm doing, much less what you're doing. Joseph Ehrenberg says, if no trade, what does that say about the season? Well, it means they're not doubling down on the investment in this year, in a year that was supposed to be about austerity anyways, right? So I do think that they're going to do something. And my recommendation, Joseph, would be do it today. Do it today. I would be making a trade for Arden Key, Bradley Chubb, or Jermaine Johnson today. I would want them on the field against the New York Giants, which I've identified as a very winnable game. I would love to see a trade benefit the 49ers this week, then be light in the pants this week up front on your defensive line, lose to New York, and then make your trade. Might cost you a little bit more right now. Okay, well, what's more costful? What's a harder cost to bear? Giving away another kind of meaningless pick for next year. I'm going to call it meaning. Like, I don't trust the Niners enough with draft picks anymore to really be that worried about them. Mike says, when I chat, it says drummers are musicians too, but supers have my name. Mike, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I am just as confused as you are. Just as confused as you are. So over 100 watching on YouTube. We've got nearly 500, though, watching across Twitter and Twitch as well. Welcome to all of you here today. Were you up late last night watching a little baseball? I know I was. If you're on the East Coast and you stayed up to watch that game, hopefully you got to go into work a little late today, or they made some extra leaded coffee to get you through your morning. That went late last night. But I'm here to tell you, everyone who watched Game 3, like, you got yourself a lifetime memory last night, didn't you? It was incredible. That was incredible. Dodger Stadium seats 56,000 people. There's going to be 300,000 Los Angelinos all saying that they were at that game last night. That's a game that makes the locals lie about being there. That's how historically significant that one felt last night. Nothing bothers me more than some mid-20s just got here sports fan declaring something that he just saw as the greatest of all time, as if sports timeline began when you were born. Well, as a 50-year-old man who's turning 51 in March, who has watched a lot more sports than a lot of you young whippersnappers looking to declare that as the best World Series game all time, I'm going to tell you this definitively. It's in the top 5. Holy shit. That was awesome. I mean, that was awesome. There is no single greatest World Series game of all time, just like there is no most important Beatle. I mean, we all know that John and Paul kind of outrank George and Ringo, but you cannot have the Beatles without George. You cannot have the Beatles without Ringo. Everyone needs each other. All the pieces had to fit together perfectly for it all to fit. I don't know what is definitely, circle it, no doubt about it. That is the greatest postseason baseball game played of all time. We all got our personal flavors of choice. You know, Cubs winning it all in extras, Game 7 in Cleveland. I mean, that's kind of number one for me as a fan. And just in terms of being there, Kansas City, Madison Bumgarner coming in and shutting that game down and saving that game. That was unbelievable. And I think anyone would have to say that's in the small handful of worlds, whether you were a Giant fan or Royal fan or not, or hated or loved the teams. Like even a Dodger fan had to admit that Giants World Series game was awesome. The same way that a Giants fans had to admit what happened last night between the Dodgers and Blue Jays was freaking incredible. So many moments. And why wouldn't there be? There were 130 at-bats in that game. Clayton Kershaw got the Dodgers out of an extra inning jam in an inning that was so late it was probably, old enough to drive. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s throw across the diamond to third base was one of the most heads-up first baseman throwing a third throws you will ever see in your life. There were so many moments. Edman with that cannon on him. You got runners getting thrown out at third. You got runners getting thrown out at home plate. And yeah, Will Smith blocked the shit out of that home plate, and that's the rule. But I don't want to run scoring like that in my entire life. That's a fucking out. Out. It was incredible. 18 innings, 609 pitches, 130 individual at-bats. 18 innings. Freddie Freeman does that, by the way. Good God. It was incredible. Like, I'm hard to please. That was incredible. I didn't want it to end. I was ready to play 22 innings last night. There are so many records. I don't know if any of those records, though, will stay. I mean, here's the thing. You had Shohei Ohtani doing a level of historic things that have never been seen before, and he's like the third star in the game. The number one star in that game's got to be Will Klein. Will Klein had never thrown more than 30 pitches in any game he has ever appeared in. He is a journeyman. He's been in 4 of 5 teams. He is the last guy on the playoff roster. Nobody in the world of baseball thought we would see a fucking pitch from Will Klein this postseason. Will Klein threw 72 pitches, doubling his lifetime work. In any inning, he threw 72 pitches. He threw the second most amount of pitches of any individual, and there were, 19 pitchers. in that game. We're going to go over all the records here in just a minute, and that's one of them. But that guy was unbelievable. Who is he? I don't even know who this guy is. We got Shohei Ohtani doing historic shit never seen before. And the star, the legend that was born was probably Will Klein. And then after that, you got Frederico Freeman doing unbelievable. Freddie Freeman, another World Series walk-off. First guy ever to hit 2 of those. And the other one came in game 1, 12 months and 3 days ago of last year's World Series when he walked it off in the 18th, right? I mean, it was insane. You know, Freddie Freeman gets to be Kirk Gibson twice. Kirk Gibson didn't even get to be Kirk Gibson twice. Postman and Capitol, as long as my avatar still has me and D. Bruce, I'm thumbs up. And that's Postman. Thank you so much. Oy, oy, oy! I appreciate you, Postman. Make me blush. If Kyle philosophically doesn't value an offensive line, isn't that a Kyle problem? He is draft control. Final say. That's on Kyle. Yeah, Ryan. I mean, here's the thing, Ryan. There's not a single criticism about this team Kyle can dodge. It is all him. It is his vision. The whole thing is his. My complaint about this offensive line isn't my argument that Kyle's got to go, but Kyle needs to start changing that philosophy. Thank you again for the supers, for hitting like and subscribe. Again, how are we going to get to 50,000 subscribers by the bye week? If we don't get to 49,000, we ain't there yet. I need everyone who's watching new here today, please hit subscribe. And if that's too much for you, just hit that like button would push this across YouTube. What we saw, though, God, it was just awesome last night. Here are 18 innings, 609 pitches, 130 individual at-bats. The records broken in Game 3 of the World Series. So Shohei Ohtani becomes the first player to reach base 9 times ever in a postseason game. Several players had 9 at-bats last night. Ohtani tied the record for most extra base hits in a World Series game with 4 of them, 2 home runs, 2 doubles. That ties a record that had stood since 1906, by the way. He was intentionally walked 5 times. We'll talk about that in a second. The Dodgers became the first team ever to use 10 pitchers in a single World Series game. Did you know that Yoshi Yamamoto was jogging down to the bullpen? He just went complete game in game 2. He was going to try to give it a go for the Dodgers before they actually had to turn to whatever position player they would have turned. Who's throwing it? Mookie, you know what? Your bat hasn't even come alive yet, Mookie. What you're doing at shortstop's pretty amazing. But Mookie, your bat's a little sleepy. Can you give us 4 innings tonight? I mean, good God. What they seriously, we almost had a World Series game see position players pitch. Dodgers used 10. That's a record. The Blue Jays pitched 9 guys, 19 total pitchers in a single World Series game. That is also a World Series record. Again, Freddie Freeman, he homers in the 18th. He is now the first player ever to hit 2 walk-off home runs in World Series games. Shohei Ohtani now has, this isn't just from last night, obviously, but he now has 8 home runs, all of them from the leadoff position. This now gives Shohei Ohtani 2 more home runs in the leadoff position than any player has ever had in a single postseason. And they have at least, maybe 5, 4 more games to play. Actually, I don't think they have 4 more games to play. I don't think the Blue Jays are catching another win now. That's devastating. I really like Toronto. I like the way that they played here, but that's devastating. You don't come back from that. You see Ohtani last night. They got, what is it, Tom Verducci or Ken Rosenthal, who's ever doing the post-game interview with Ohtani last night. They're like, are you ready to come back here and like pitch in 17 hours? I mean, that's fucking crazy thing. The guy who did all that at the plate last night, the guy who was intentionally walked 5 times after going 4 for 4, the guy who was on base 9 times last night is tonight's starting pitcher. I mean, the chances of Shohei Ohtani, based on the heater that he is on right now, throwing a perfect game tonight, have to be somewhere around like 78%. Right? Ohtani throwing a one-hitter, that's, it's probably going to happen. He's an alien. He's an alien. I mean, there are 2 guys right now on planet Earth who are officially like, we ain't seen this shit ever before. It's Shohei Ohtani and Victor Wembanyama. I've never seen anything like that ever before. What a time to be alive. May you live in interesting times. Seriously. We got, hold on. Love you, Red Jet. We got this right here. Babe Ruth is back. Babe Ruth couldn't hold this dude's jockstrap. Babe Ruth is a fucking little leaguer compared to Shohei Ohtani. I don't want to hear George Herman Ruth and Shohei Ohtani's name in the same sentence. Babe isn't even in this guy's neighborhood. That's who this guy is. There is one player in the history of Major League Baseball who's better than everyone else. His name is Shohei Ohtani. Sorry, Barry Bonds. Sorry, Mickey Mantle. Sorry, Willie Mays. All you dudes have been bumped to somewhere down the line. There is a new lead caboose, period. No one's even close. Again, Babe Ruth isn't even close to Shohei Ohtani. Guy's just unbelievable. Shohei, you got to come back and start in like 17 hours. And he's like, yeah, I'm sleep. I got to go home and get to sleep. It's like, I got to go to bed. I got to get some sleep. Everything about him is just perfect. I love the guy. I love his attitude. I love the way he looks around the mound. He's like the most gentle giant in the history of, I'm out here literally taking candy from your baby. I'm fucking your mom and I'm burying your dad all at the same time. This guy is out just killing it with a smile. With a smile and more politeness for anyone. Shohei, you just had a game that's never been seen before in the history of mankind. What do you think? He's like, I'm just glad we won. All I want to do is win. If anything I did tonight helped the team win, then I'm very happy with the performance. Otherwise, it wouldn't even matter. The guy's perfect. The guy's perfect. I don't care if we literally have gambling receipts stapled to his forehead. I don't give a shit. He can play. And that's going to bring us to the other and final thing that I want to talk about here today, because this is something that I've been all over with my friends in a group chat, texting back and forth. The last thing I ever want is to take strategic decisions away from managers, especially in the postseason. Having said that, on my first day as Major League Commissioner, we're doing something about intentional walks. Just the straight up elimination of an intentional walk. That feels like I'm taking a strategic thing away from an opposing manager. And by the way, Toronto's manager saying, yeah, we're not pitching to Ohtani the rest of the World Series. That's got to be great for World Series ratings. Thanks an awful lot. But it's smart to not pitch to Shohei Ohtani. I will agree with you, especially as he's going 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and 2 doubles. You're going to want to walk him the rest of the night. But something needs to be done. Holy shit. Baseball is charging way too much for tickets. Keeping people watching means way too much. And taking the bat out of Shohei Ohtani's hands 5 times in a game that is going on for like 5 hours, that it can't happen, right? So what can be done? What can be done about intentional walks? And again, we thought about this, if you lived through Barry Bonds, you have spent more time talking about intentional walks than any group of fans in the history of baseball. San Francisco is the launching pad of the intentional walk conversation, thanks to Barry Bonds. Here's my idea. You get 1 intentional walk to put the runner on first. If you intentionally walk the same hitter again, that hitter goes to second base. You are intentionally walked now into scoring position. You want to intentionally walk a guy for a 3rd time, he's on third base now. Again, intentionally walking a guy 4 times, 5 times. That doesn't happen in Major League history until last night, and Shohei Ohtani was intentionally walked 5 times. That's got to be another Major League record, right? It's insane. But something needs to, it's just, you cannot be taking that moment away from the game, from the fans, from the paying customers, from the television audience, and insist this is good for baseball. I understand it's good strategy, but good strategy being good for the overall product, these are 2 different things. Something needs to be done about intentional walks. What that's something that, again, my friends and I are trying to group think this. We've been writing back and forth here. My buddy Greg texts this morning. He's like, so the Blue Jays manager has basically said that they're not pitching to Ohtani again in this series. Isn't that pretty much the worst thing possible for baseball? Yeah. I mean, it really is. What is there a single guy on this field, with all due respect to Freddie Freeman and Mookie and Vlad and everybody else, is, blah, 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 blah. Ohtani. That's all that matters. The fucking Ohtani. That's what we're here for. My buddy says, look, it's a pitcher. I'll just throw 4 distinct balls. So even though you're saying that I cannot, intentionally walk a guy, how do you know I'm not unintentionally walking a guy? You can't prove intent, blah, 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 blah. Maybe since next year we're going to a strike zone, you need a ball zone. If the ball you're throwing to home plate is so egregiously outside the ball zone, well, again, now that guy goes to second. Maybe I'm thinking it through. I haven't come up with it yet, but I'm working on it. I'm like, I need to take a few gummies, pour a cup of coffee, sit in the backyard and think about this, and I'll come up with the idea. I really will. My buddy Greg said, why not let the batter decide if they want to accept the pitch outside the zone? In other words, the batter can refuse ball 4 down to first base. You let one player, you designate one player as the player who cannot be walked. Something like, there's got to be something. There's got to be some mechanism to make sure that the most important at bat remains a possibility of even seeing it in a baseball game. And by the way, I hate being the overreactionary guy, but don't tell me baseball has a single tradition or rule based in it anymore that is worth protecting. They have changed everything. There's no sport that has done more to try to tailor it to modern times than what baseball has done. By the way, this 18-inning game last night lasted like, 5.5 hours? The 18-inning game the year before lasted like 7. So thank you, pitch clock. That's the pitch clock right there. The pitch clock right there. Cut 2 hours off of a postseason 18-inning game. So don't tell me that baseball isn't looking for better ways to modernize its game. I think something has to happen. This isn't a bad thing right here. Regular Ryan says an intentional walk would bring forth a mandatory pitching change. Ooh, okay. Again, we're just thinking out loud. We're just brainstorming. There are no wrong answers here. I love a good idea. Ryan, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to go ahead and put that in my boy's text message here. I like that. Something needs to be done to deliver moments. That's what sports are all about, these moments. And I feel like we're getting robbed of a big moment. 5 of them. 5 of them. And you can say, Sporticus, I hear you, buddy. He's like, don't turn into Rob Manfred, Damon. Baseball needs more simplification, not more complication. No, baseball needs more entertainment. Baseball needs more action. Baseball needs more reasons for people to watch. I think I saw last night, last night's game got 5 or 7 million views. I don't think they have all of the numbers back because so much of that game rolled over to the next day's ratings that they haven't even been able to really calculate what the ratings were. I'm going to tell you right now, I've got YouTube videos that have bigger audiences than last night's World Series game. I got a short about Steph Curry that's at 19 million views. That triples last night's rating. That's what sports are competing with now. You're competing with YouTube shorts. A short I did about Steph Curry has more than 19 million views. Not even 7 or 8 million people watched that World Series game. So baseball, don't tell me that they ain't in the new ideas business. They're about to put in an electronic strike zone. So, evolve or die. It's just that simple. Evolve or die. Welfare check on Mike Trout. How does he feel watching Ohtani? You think he wishes he escaped Anaheim too? Who's Mike Trout? Who? Does Mike Trout still play baseball? By the way, everybody is starting to identify what we're wearing here today. I thought since we would have so much baseball baked into this Christian McCaffrey thumbnail this afternoon, that we would have a little fucking John Fisher ever present. He earned it. He deserves it. Poor Mike Trout. Yeah, Mike Trout, Tim Salmon. Angels can't win with anyone on their team named after a fish. By the way, did you hear the amount of fish that was? I counted at least 3 fish songs last night in that World Series game going to break, coming back from commercial break. We got a tweezer. We got a tweezer reprise for sure. We got a first tube, little fish there, sample in a jar. So it was, it's amazing. Fish is having a moment. Who would have ever thought? But sadly, Mike Trout's moments feel like we ain't going to see much of them. All right. You ready for a little today in history? We got Warriors. I got to be honest with you. I saw Jonathan Kuminga was rebounding last night. That's a very good thing. That's good. Rebound, Jonathan. Keep it up. Keep it up. Everyone can get along. Jonathan Kuminga rebounds and plays a little defense, right? That's good. It's good. Keep it up. I'll actually watch the Warriors tonight because I'm doubting we get another 8-hour-long baseball game. And then we'll be back at 11 a.m. on Wednesday here on YouTube, West Coast time, talking about everything. And then on Thursday, I won't be here. I have been designated Pumpkin King. I'm volunteering at a pumpkin patch at my son's elementary school on Thursday. So Thursday, I'm on dad duty. And then Friday, we'll be back for a fun wake up with Kruger. And we'll be having Sammy stop on by as well. And this is what I'm saying. All hail the Pumpkin King. They had a sign up. They're like, we need someone to come out and hand out pumpkins at this pumpkin patch. My name went on that as fast as I've ever signed up for anything. Hell yeah, Pumpkin King, baby. Pumpkin King. We can talk with emojis. Happy birthday, Bill Gates, 70 years old today. That guy's done a little bit to change the world we live in, don't you think? Bill Gates, 70 years old. Lauren Holly, remember that name? Lauren Holly, of course, the hot redhead in Dumb and Dumber. Samsonite, or Samson, right? Lauren Holly, 62 years old today. Andy Richter, the Ed McMahon to Conan O'Brien, turns 59 years old today. Julia Roberts, 58 years old today. Musician Ben Harper turns 56 years old today. You know, I don't think Ben Harper is particularly very famous, but I saw Ben Harper rip it up at like the Warfield or the Independent. Where did I see Ben Harper? Was it the Great American Music Hall? It was a fuzzy memory, but he was awesome. Ben Harper and the Innocent Criminals. They were good. Joaquin Phoenix, 51 years old today, and musician Frank Ocean, 38 years old today. So happy birthdays all around. Happy birthday, Cuba? Not really. I mean, it was there before he got there, but today in 1492, Christopher Columbus discovered Cuba. No, he didn't. He was a colon. I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure a lot of weird things happened in the 1400s that wouldn't be acceptable today. If you need to feel taller by diminishing Christopher Columbus's accomplishments, your parents raised a total pussy. Today in 1636, the Great and General Court of Massachusetts Bay Colony established what would become the first college and what would become the first in the United States. And just like we told you the other day, they established what? The College of New Jersey. And they're like, wait a minute. Nobody wants to say that they went to the College of New Jersey. We got to give this thing a better name. And they came up with Princeton. Well, in 1636, the first ever college, they decided, let's call that shit Harvard. And there you go. Happy birthday, Harvard. 1636. Ooh, we have a big moment in literature today. If I know anything about my chat, chat loves some literature. Here we go. Today, in 1726, author Jonathan Swift anonymously published a story, a novel, called Travels into Several Remote Nations of the World. It would later become known as Gulliver's Travels. The Lilliputians. This became a keystone in English literature and was basically one of the first ever novels and books that like people talked about and sought out. What'd you read? Gulliver's Travels? I want to buy that too. There he is, like one of the first bestsellers. Today in 1886, President Grover Cleveland dedicated the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor. She probably doesn't like the world she turns around and sees anymore. Today in 1950, The Jack Benny Show debuted on CBS. Now, for a lot of you youngsters who are watching here, all I can tell you is that Jack Benny was one of the pioneers of early television, and he was one of the pioneers of the concept in comedy of being the straight man. In other words, Jack Benny, he had this big show, and all he would ever do is give all of his guests, his celebrity guests, all the punchlines. He was always the subject of the joke. He was always the guy that was sort of being made fun of. And somebody once famously asked Jack Benny, Jack, how come you don't tell the punchline on any of your jokes? And Jack Benny said, because I don't care who gets the laugh. I just want America saying, God, the Jack Benny show was funny last night. It's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's some thinking forward entertainment right there. I don't care who gets the laugh as long as you say the Jack Benny show was funny last night. Today in 1965, the 650-foot tall St. Louis Arch was officially completed. Happy birthday to the St. Louis Arch. By the way, when you are driving like across the country and you get to that thing, you're like, damn, that's bigger than I thought it was going to be. The arch is pretty cool. It is. The arch is pretty cool. Finally, sad bit of history today, recent history. Today in 2023, sadly, Matthew Perry overdosed on what was that? Ketamine and whatever he had in that drug in the jacuzzi he was sitting in. We lost Chandler Bing today. Matthew Perry, rest in peace. Drugs are bad, okay? I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank you so much for watching this show, for being a part of this show, for being a part of this community day after day after day. Please hit like and subscribe. And if you're new here, welcome. It's been great to have you. Thank you very, very much. Play on Sleeper and have a little fun. Eat at Ike's and have a delicious sandwich. Go to the Dubliner when you need a perfectly poured Guinness. The Dubliner West Portal in San Francisco's got you. I want to watch the game tonight. They got you. I want to talk to some cool people who are just neighborhood folk, normal San Franciscans. They got you. It's on the normal side of town. We got locals. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a local here on the Plus. Tribe Called Plus, represent Zen. I do like that. Any other supers come in here at the last minute? What do we got? No, last one was the welfare check on Mike Trout. That's where we left off. Ryan, thank you. Mike, thank you. Postman, thank you. Ernberg, Bill, Curva, everyone who gave a super today, thank you all so very, very much. And please, my good friends, do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone.